Yo, how's it going, everybody? This is your favorite Shogun here, Sugi, and today I'm gonna be reviewing this Chinese animated film which got roughly released a week ago on Netflix called New Gods Nezha Reborn. Now, this is not to be confused with the 2019 Chinese animated film called Nezha, and both of them have same folklore character and the source material, which is the novel called Creation of the Chinese Gods, but they have different production companies and different distributors, and Nezha Reborn is not as close to the original story as the 2019 one, because this is a reincarnation story and it takes place also in a bit more modern setting. So, New Gods and Nezha Reborn takes place in a fictional city known as Donghai, which is loosely based on the 1920s Shanghai, but it has clearly influences from Final Fantasy VII. I got really heavy vibes for that. Also a lot of other steampunk vibes and even a bit of Akira vibes because the main character wears a lot of red, a red jacket, and then he also has this sort of a cool looking bike, which also feels a lot more modern than the actual era that it's trying to depict. So I think there's a lot of steampunk elements there, like a visual artistic style of this movie is actually pretty nice. Now, it basically follows, it has basically taken 3,000 years since Nezha's first incarnation has happened, and now Nezha has taken over this, a new person known as Li Yunxiang, and basically he is the modern reincarnation of Nezha. There has been many of them in the past, and there's this sort of a 3,000-year-old battle with this, or grudge, with this dragon clan, which have basically killed Nezha before, and there has been a bit of a trifle with them, and the story kind of revolves around anger and depictions of how Nezha was very selfish and problematic child god of sorts, and it kind of goes into flashbacks, and there's a bit of sins there, some characters, other folklore characters which make appearance, talk about oh, you did this bad thing 3,000 years ago, how is this going to be any different, and how you are going to be any different, and etc. So, and it's around 2-hour movie. It's actually quite long. I felt that it could have been a bit shorter film. There's not words that I exactly tend to say a lot. Sometimes I feel movies could be shorter or longer. I mean, the character development was what it was, and I don't necessarily think that they did the best job here of the 2 hours to capitalize it. But visually, very impressive film. The studio behind it is Light Chaser Studios, and obviously I have reviewed a lot of their other films here. Guardian Brothers comes into my mind, and also White Snake, which I actually also enjoyed, a great film. But it does suffer the same problem as any other Mandarin voiced film is. The dub is horrible. I'm just sorry, it's just bad, and I'm not gonna be telling you or talking about this specific subject of Mandarin dubs and why they're bad, but long story short is, they are not sounding very authentic Chinese because they do accent reduction, so there's a way what Chinese films do, anime and things do, with their shows to make them sound, a bit different than what people actually sound like in, real mainland China. So I had to resort into watching this with my friends on the English dub, and well, that wasn't super great either, but it did the job. There has been a couple of other, for example, I watched The White Snake on the Chinese dub, and in that film, for instance, I probably should have opted in for the English one. But overall, in terms of the movie and the story, I'm not super familiar with Nezha, outside from knowing the folklore character from Smite and other, Chinese depictions and, whatever gods have been depicted in other various medias, which I'm familiar with. And there's also going to be, a sequel movie, which is kind of well, I don't know what actually it's going to be focusing on. We got some other interesting folklore characters making an appearance from Chinese folklore. And Chinese folklore is very rich, and I don't think there's have been very successful adaptations out of it just yet, which do the job accordingly and the best way possible, in my opinion. Now, the New Gods, Nezha Reborn is still an okay film. As I said, animation-wise, pretty solid. The fighting is pretty cool. but the character development here and the relationships that the main character has from with his father, for instance, is kind of weird. And and just like some of the things, like there's like a clans running the city or something between those lines, and then there are people like, yeah, the people are like struggling with poverty, and there's no water in the city, and there are some like other types of things which it's trying to like tell you about, but it just doesn't really strike as authentic, or it could be playing into the bad dub or whatever. But I just didn't really connect with the world enough, and it was just kind of like, it's kind of like the same thing. But I always feel with a lot of these Chinese films that I'm just failing to really connect here. But I think the Guardian Brothers, for example, I think that did a bit of a better job actually connecting me with the story, even though the Netflix, the English version, is like cut out like 30 minutes of their actual runtime, so that's crazy. But I mean, it's an okay film. It's an exciting action film, so you definitely should watch it in case you like Chinese folklore and you know, just like action films. It's like, you know, if you liked White Snake, you'll probably like this one. I mean, they're pretty much on the same end as some, like, there's some like really god tier animation here in terms of 3D, which nobody is able to like reproduce, not even Chinese, not even Disney. So, but it's not always about the animation. Like, no matter how good you get that you have to always have a solid story, solid pacing. And there were some pacing issues with this movie, and I think it was going to be taking another 10-15 years, assuming that the Chinese films try to want to adapt more Western style and Western storytelling format, then they will become really good at this. But until then, I don't see it happening yet, but I'm hoping that will happen. But hey, it was an okay film. I don't really have much else to add. Will I watch the sequel when it comes out next year, which is the proposed date? I'm definitely down for watching and reviewing it as well, and maybe that will be more interesting. But yes, I think it's definitely a good for an action film. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and check out my other reviews on the channel. And obviously, if you have some other Chinese animated films you would like me to review, leave a comment down below, because there's quite a lot of them, and eventually I will supposed to get into those and kind of see what's up. But hey, thanks for watching. See you soon next time.